For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson and Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Happy St. Paddy's Day. Now, how do you say it? Do you say it Patty, TT, or Paddy, DD? That's the question for you. Speaking of DD, did you see Avril Lavigne getting stage rushed on the Junos on Monday by the streaker? All right, anyway, that's a joke for our fellow Canadians. And, wouldn't you know it, we're sticking with Canada this week because Howie Mandel is one of the judges on Canada's Got Talent. The show is back for the second season. And Howie, what a great intro. I didn't even... Do you see what I'm saying there? St. Paddy, DD... Avril Lavigne, streaker, topless stage rush, double D's, and then Canada's Got Talent, Howie Mandel. There we go. It all fits. Top of the morning to you, or up to. All right. Anyway, so Howie Mandel is one of the judges on Canada's Got Talent. He's joining me in just a few minutes to talk about the latest season of the show. It's premiering on Citytv, and Howie goes back a long way with me because in our radio studio where I'm sitting right now. On the wall behind me is our Wall of Fame, and it's just got, I can't even count. If I turn around, you won't hear me, but dozens of photos of me on red carpets with different celebrities. Howie was first on the air with me, and they're going to correct me if I'm wrong. Bonnie, give me a signal, but was it Canada's Walk of Fame that was the first time that he was on with us? So that would have, somebody look it up, get back to me. So Howie Mandel has been on the show with me through Canada's Walk of Fame, and then America's Got Talent, because I was on the red carpet. There's another photo. He's on the wall a few times, actually. There's a picture of him, me, Sharon Osbourne, Piers Morgan in Hollywood on the red carpet at AGT. And we did, I don't know how many seasons of reporting from the red carpet on the radio. And now we still do it, even though those radio shows are over. Howie was on with us last season for CGT, and now he's joining us again. 2009, Bonnie is saying, was the first time that Howie was on the radio with me. So looking forward to chatting with Howie and getting some insight because, these shows are interesting because you've got, Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, Australia's Got Talent, whatever. And it's just kind of weird because you don't have to be a Canadian to win the show. You don't even have to be a Canadian to compete on the show. So that's always something that's interesting to me. Howie's got a different perspective, and so he's going to share that with us coming up in just a little bit. And after the Howie segment, because we are going to be talking about showbiz and singing and your passion and all that stuff related to their show, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how, as Canadians, we sort of had this inferiority complex, and how, and again, Howie speaks to this, but how we always felt that as Canadians, we had to go elsewhere to have success, fame, whatever word you want to use. Money, I guess, would be the main word that people would use. But yeah, career success, even fame, stardom, notoriety, fill in the blank, right? Use your thesaurus there on a word. So I'm going to give my take on that after Howie's segment, because when Howie's on, this is some insider information here. We're generally scheduled for about 7 or 8 minutes, and I love a celebrity guest where we just blow right by that. It's just, I love it. And I think one of the first ones that we ever had, do we call it a blowout? I was trying to think of the word that I used before, you guys. Yeah, a blowout. One of the first blowout segments we had, if I'm not mistaken, was Jeff Probst when he was doing his daytime talk show. Who remembers that? And they, the publicist or whoever it was before we do the segment is like, you've got like 7 minutes, 8 minutes. He's got to be off the phone at like 8 minutes, no longer than 10. So already you're kind of like, all right, we've got 8 minutes. And then they tell you 10. So you're like, all right, we can go 10 minutes. That's fine. And it was Jeff who kept going because we were just having such a fun conversation. And we ran, 30 something minutes at the time. And I was just kind of laughing about that after, going, you know what? That's a fun chat because we sort of forget. Now, again, it was a radio segment. So obviously time plays in, right? Because we've got commercials, we can't just take the airwaves for the next, 6 hours. But we were pre-taping, so we weren't doing a live interview. And it was just great because you're in that moment. You're not looking at the time. You might have some celebrities that are sitting there going, oh, 8 minutes, get me off the phone, I'm out of there, and the fact that he didn't do that was just cool of him, and then he was on the show a bunch of times after that. So maybe we'll have to get Jeff on again, right? Survivor's on right now on CBS. Maybe we'll get Jeff. Anyway, but today we are talking about Canada, and Howie Mandel will be joining us on the Scribble right after this.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secret to losing 3 to 5 pounds a week without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt RX. For the last 2 decades, we've helped countless people lose thousands of pounds. And now it's your turn. Learn how to lose weight with one simple phone call and no prescription needed. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a risk-free money-back guarantee. So, if you're ready to start losing weight, call right now and get a free month supply with your first order of Body Sculpt RX. Call now. You have nothing to lose but the pounds. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. That's 800-459-6838.
Canada's Got Talent is back on Citytv, and that means that we're going to once again check in with Howie Mandel to talk about the latest season. Hi, Howie.
Hi.
How's it going?
I'm happy to be back. It's going fantastic. I can't wait for everybody to see season 2.
Well, you know what? I just before we went on the air, I was thinking about your job. I mean, you're basically paid to watch a variety show every night. It's a pretty sweet gig.
I do what everybody else does, except I get paid for it, and
yeah.
I have to wear pants. I said before I even got before I got my first job as a talent judge on one of these shows, I watched every episode anyhow. But a lot of people who watch it in their pajamas or their underwear, and they sit at home with friends or family, and they comment on what they just saw, and they go, I don't think that was good, or I think that was good, and they just do that. That's what the audience is asked to do. The only difference between what they do and I do is I got to wear pants, and they give me a check.
So we could almost call that a pants wearing fee then that you're paid.
Yeah. No, well, you know how they say no shirt, no shoes, no service.
Yeah.
I just get pants, and I'm in service.
And it's funny, you mentioned you've been doing this a long time. There's a picture on the wall behind me of us. It's you, me, Sharon, and Piers on the AGT red carpet, I think, 2010. So
right.
You must be constantly surprised, though, at how people up their game each season, because I would go into it thinking, here's another ventriloquist, here's another comedian. Simon Cowell famously said on American Idol he never wants to hear Josh Groban's "You Raise Me Up" again. How do you feel about auditions, though, after all this time?
The truth of the matter is that's what you think you are going to think, and then it happens, and then you get like a season 2 of Canada's Got Talent. And I will say, if I want to be specific, like my golden buzzer this year on Canada's Got Talent is a jaw-dropping, surprising, awe-inspiring moment for me personally, because I didn't know what I was hearing. I didn't know what I was seeing. I didn't understand what it was. And to, answer your question, those are the moments that make this job crazily special for me, because you would think, and I think that even people sitting at home would think, okay, I've watched 2 seasons of this, I'm going to look for something else, and then they turn it on and they go, oh my God, what is this? And just when you think you've seen everything, the next person, group, act comes out on stage and you realize you ain't seen nothing yet. And that's pretty indicative of season 2 of Canada's Got Talent.
You mentioned the buzzer. I'm going to jump ahead. We had a question sent in, but I'll ask it now because you mentioned the buzzer. Do you keep in touch with past contestants you've mentored and given the buzzer to? Do you follow their careers after the show? This is about the buzzer contestants. Somebody wanted to know.
I have. Usually through social media, but, specifically comedians, and on AGT. I've kept in contact. I'm friends with Preacher and Mikey Winfield, and and other Golden Buzzers, which are a lot of my Golden Buzzers are international, like they're not in the same country as me. Courtney Hadwin just released a new a song. But not I've been doing it, as you just pointed out, for like 12 years, so I'm not in contact. A handful of people I do follow and still remain in contact and friends with. Matt Franco.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, we could call it almost the bond of the buzzer, basically. But the great thing about Canada's Got Talent, I mean, obviously the American audience, the American pool of contestants is so much bigger, right? Canada, a little bit more intimate, smaller communities. And, I'm scrolling through the contestants, and, I get to Manitoba where I grew up, and hey, I know Dean Gunnarsson. And so some of these people are already household names, which I think happens maybe a little bit more in Canadian cities than it does in the American ones. And now they've got this national platform to share their talent. So that's the one I think gem about Canada.
These shows an international platform because with the advent of which didn't exist when this started, of YouTube and Instagram and all these digital platforms, these moments from these GT Got Talent stages become incredibly internationally viral. What's her name? Susan Boyle.
Susan Boyle, yeah.
BGT is smaller than CGT. Britain's Got Talent is not as big as Canada's Got Talent as far as a country, as far as,
sure.
The accessibility. But people come from all over the world to compete on these stages. And I always say, I don't know that you necessarily have to be originally from Canada to be on Canada's Got Talent to compete. You can compete anywhere. And you find that these people that compete even on America's Got Talent, a lot of them aren't even from America. We have great Japanese contestants. The ones who won last year on America's Got Talent were the Mayans. They were a Lebanese female dancing troupe. And by the same token, I think people showed up this year to Canada's Got Talent that weren't necessarily born and raised in Canada. And I think that's a good thing. I think that validates Canada as a place where I'm just coming to win. If you look at sports, you don't have to be from the U.S. to be in the U.S. Open. You don't have to be from Australia to be in the Australia Open. And you don't have to necessarily be from Canada to compete on Canada's Got Talent, but it means a lot to win Canada's Got Talent or to create a moment that the world is going to see that originated in Canada.
And I mean, this is really a platform for people to share their passion. I mean, as you were talking, I'm looking through the list again, and obviously there's a lot more people from Ontario. I mean, some of these names look familiar to me. I don't know if it's from YouTube. I think maybe one or two of them might have even been Canadian Idol back in the day. That's going back about 15 years or so. And they're still doing it. They still have that passion for their I'll call it their craft. They love singing so much.
The two mistakes I think that people make is, number one, it's not an amateur show. I get this a lot of times when somebody will say, oh, this person is competing, it's not fair, they have a record deal, or we already saw them, or they were in Cirque du Soleil, and they're already working, that's not fair. It's just a contest. Mm-hmm. Just that, like, if you, again, I'll take it back to sports. If you're in the U.S. Open, you're earning money. That's not an amateur contest. We want professional. These are passionate people who want to do what they're doing. This gives them a great platform to be seen, to raise the bar on what they're doing, to become more popular, and maybe even win a contest. And that's what they want to do. So these names that you're seeing that might be familiar, they could already be huge online successes.
Right.
And be making a lot of money online. There are a few people on this season that are already incredibly viral on every other platform but television, and have huge followings, and their music is already streaming. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't be on the show. So, Canada and Canada's Got Talent is just a great platform for them to show many more eyes, or other eyes that haven't seen them before and ears, to compete.
And I think the thing that, as Canadians, we always felt, especially before the dawning of, or the age of the internet and everything, was that it was your big break to make it in the United States. I mean, you would know this better than it, right? I mean, you're from Canada, you've got all these opportunities.
I've always had that resentment. I never understood why I had to leave home to go make the living that I make, and that's why I want people. I want now, because of what we just talked about, that people have access to see things from all over the world. Susan Boyle was from a small town in the UK, and she's a household name. I want people to come from all over the world to compete on Canada's Got Talent so that they can. And where did you make it? I'm the winner of Canada's Got Talent.
Yeah.
So therein lies. You don't have to leave Canada now to make it. We have a stage. And I always thought that. You know how many Canadians competed on America's Got Talent and went really far? They're great. And we were talking about the country that gives you the best in music, from Drake to Michael Bublé to, and the list goes on, to the great in circus and stunts, from Cirque du Soleil to the best in movies and comedy and Jim Carrey. And why can't we see this showcased on a stage in our own country, on our own networks, and on our own platforms? And that's what this is doing. And that's what, I don't even think season 2 is comparable to season 1. I think it's like far and above. It's like we're 20 seasons in, because people just have to know now that it's legitimate, that we're here to stay. And they were inspired by the fact that we showed up last year, but they showed up in with adrenaline on steroids this year. It's crazy. It is off the chain, as my friend Mel B used to always put it.
Yes. We should also point out that, they're also competing. You've been talking about money. They're competing for $150,000. So there's a big prize on the line, too.
I think more importantly than the money, and whether it's, every one of them, whether it's the person or the act that wins, or somebody that gets an opportunity to be on this platform 2 or 3 times and showcase what they're doing, it's more than money. Nobody is in show business because if money was important, they would be entrepreneurs, they would go work, they would be in sales. This is all about passion. This is all about, passion, getting your face out there, letting people know you, and having an opportunity to do what you're showcasing on Canada's Got Talent stages in other places, and being able to do this full time.
For sure.
The money is a good prize, but even in the States, when it's $1 million, if you ask any of these people, it doesn't really matter. It's, I just want to get up every day and do this. I just want to be known for this. I just want the phone to be ringing and somebody call me and say, could you do a show here? We want you to do what you did on Canada's Got Talent. And that is priceless.
Well, absolutely. And it goes back to what I was saying about the people potentially from Canadian Idol. The fact that they're still pursuing their passion after all this time. Obviously they must love doing it then, right? Even if they haven't had headlining, concerts somewhere, they're still singing, and that's the bottom line.
It is the bottom line. If somebody asks me, what is involved in making it, it's fine. Making it is just finding what it is that you want to do and wake up for and do each and every day, and having the opportunity to do it. I'm not going to begrudge the fact that I do have some notoriety and some success by other people's standards, but the truth is, I believe that I made it on, April 19th, 1977, on the Dare to Get Up at Yuck Yucks. And when I found the stage, and when I found comedy, even if I was talking to you today as a waiter, if I had 2 or 3 times a week the opportunity to get up on stage and do it, what it is I do, that's making it. There's so many people that aren't looking forward to doing anything in the course of the day, and they try to get through hump day, which is halfway through the week, because they hate going to work each and every day, and just look forward to the weekend where they just don't do what they don't like. To have something that you're excited about is making it. And each and every one of these people that get up on stage on Canada's Got Talent, you're looking at somebody who is just on fire for whatever it is that they're doing in front of us, and just wants to do more of that. And that's exciting, and that's contagious, and that's what makes the show so compelling. Everybody's got a dream. and we're watching dreams come true.
For sure. Our final remaining moments, we're already late, but I know that you're probably sick of being asked about comedians and the state of comedy, but are you seeing a turnaround from this cancel culture thing? I'm not saying that you were ever canceled, but in the community, is it getting better for comedians now, or like what's the state like?
I think we are. I think there is a little bit of an upswing in making it better. I think it was really harsh and really dark, and I think that people are starting to get a sense of humor back and kind of understanding that, you know, maybe we just have to have a little bit of a sense of humor. And we have to understand that this is an art form where, you know, you, rather than be offended, you could think it's not funny, but it's done in the vein of just trying to make somebody smile, trying to make somebody laugh. And, you know, not everybody's going to get it. Not everybody's going to think it's funny. It's really subjective, but it's an art form. And I think that is loosening up, and there are more comedians today, as we speak, playing in arenas, playing internationally, and becoming household names through their podcasts, their concerts, and whatever. And I'm just happy to be a small part of that community.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, in all seriousness, we need more laughter and love in the world. I mean, if we're going to be corny, but we just need happiness is what we want.
Oh, that's not corny. I think that's you hit the nail on the head. And you know what? If I can make somebody smile or I can make somebody laugh, that is it feels better knowing that I could make somebody laugh. And, you know, I can't tell you how many times people have come up to me and said, you know, I was having a really hard time, and then I looked at your TikTok and you made me giggle, and for a moment I forgot about what I was dealing with. That's a real gift to me to hear something like that. So hopefully everybody's getting more and more of a sense of humor, and it's brightening up a little bit, at least in the comedy world. Well,
you're going to be making everybody smile on Canada's Got Talent. We're going to be watching on Citytv, premiering March 21st. And the easiest way to say this is check your local listings. That's the good thing about live TV. You can watch other regions and markets at whatever time. So check your local listings. Howie Mandel, always great chatting with you. Thanks for joining us today.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Listen up, guys. Are you experiencing any of the following? Fatigue, less drive, poor performance? If so, you may be one of the nearly 30 million men in the U.S. today dealing with ED. But did you know you don't have to pay hundreds for a prescription anymore? And you don't have to deal with the hassle of seeing the doctor or the embarrassment of going to the pharmacy for a certain pill. Now with one free call, you can find out how Herbal Virility Max can help you feel like a man again. For over a decade, Herbal Virility Max has helped guys just like you put a smile back on their face with improved performance and drive. Call today and ask about our buy one, get one free offer. Save the money, save the hassles, and get the better blue pill. Dial 800-578-0179. That's 800-578-0179. 800-578-0179.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt, your shoulder hurts, and your back. Oh my God, your back. They're constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore. Am I right? Well, here is something you haven't tried. Pain Absolve. Pain Absolve is not available in any drugstore. The only way to get it is by calling today. We're so confident that it will work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase, no prescription needed, and best of all, each purchase comes with a money-back guarantee. Call now to find out how you can get Pain Absolve and get rid of your pain. Call 800-319-0582. That's 800-319-0582. 800-319-0582. Call today, 800-319-0582.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. I love talking with Howie. It's just so fun. One of the things that he mentioned, he used the word resentment, right? About having to go to another country to sort of find his success and create a future for himself. And as Canadians, I mean, this is where I'm sort of addressing, I guess, I mean, I'm relating to fellow Canadians. You guys will agree with me. And then I'm letting outsiders from other countries know kind of how Canadians were always sort of meant to feel. And I know when I started in radio, or actually, sorry, excuse me, I was just starting in newspapers at the time. There were so many people that would ask me if you want to write for the New York Times or the LA Times or, one of the big publications in the United States. Nobody would ever ask me, oh, hey, are you going to write for the Toronto Star someday? Oh, are you going to write for, one of the, the bigger or even one of the national newspapers in Canada? I was never asked that. Seriously, everybody always asked me if I was going to New York to write for that newspaper. Now, again, maybe that's because that's more of a household name than the Toronto Star is for other Canadians. I'm not sure. But the way I took it, though, was people basically saying, you've got to get out of this country to make it. And we're going to use that term, make it. Make it means everything, right? Success, fame, all those things I said at the top of the show. Money, blah, blah, blah. And so I know when I started in radio that I was getting time slots on American radio stations as long as they did not know that I was Canadian. Now, when I mentioned the Juno Awards at the top of the show, that's Canada's, if I'm editorializing here, Canada's low-end Grammys. And it's the music show, the music award show. And we on our music, we did a 2-hour sort of, we waved the Canadian flag, figuratively, I guess, where we played 2 hours of Canadian music to kind of just celebrate Canadian artists. And 2 radio stations dropped our show, our top 40 show. I don't know that our country show was on at the time, so it was probably just the top 40 show. And it was kind of like, wow, so we kind of do this pro-Canada, we're celebrating, Canadian artists. We could very well do it with other countries, right? I mean, we could, let's play some Australian artists, right? Let's play some whoever, Olivia Newton-John, because what we were doing on that was we were bringing awareness that there were a lot of people who didn't know that, let's say, I can't remember now. People always knew that Justin Bieber was Canadian because that was kind of the whole thing, but I guess... like Terry Clark, who's made it huge in country. I mean, country fans will know that she's from Alberta. They'll know that she's Canadian. But to be considered Canadian music, maybe somebody Canadian wrote the song. So really we were educating people about Canadian music. 2 stations dropped us, and I was sitting there going, you know what, I don't feel bad about that, because why? Music is music, right? This is the music people are listening to. We just happen to be educating listeners and saying, hey, that was written by a Canadian writer. That was performed or produced by, because again, there's different clarifications as to what is considered quote-unquote Canadian music or Canadian song. And from that point on, I was like, I'm not going to be, this wasn't really a patriotic sort of a stand that I took, but it was more so like, why am I supposed to be ashamed of being, like, we're not taking anything away. If you happen to like this music, that's great. And we're playing the music that you like, but we're just putting a spin on it saying, hey, did you know this is Canadian? And that was very threatening to these 2 stations. And they said, goodbye, we don't, it's too Canadian. We're an American station. We don't. And I was like, wow, okay, great. And so I know that it was very difficult for us as Canadians, initially back in the day, before the internet, like I said to Howie, to kind of get that break. And I remember applying for columnist jobs, an editorial columnist, opinion writer, commentator for American newspapers. And again, as soon as they see you're Canadian, no. And now, when you think about it, I know that like on the local stations in Winnipeg, my hometown, you've got people who aren't even from Winnipeg. And, it's kind of like, wait a second. So you've got these people who moved from Alberta to be the local morning host in Winnipeg. And I realize that's what happens. I'm not saying that but I guess the assumption maybe as a listener is, well, if I'm listening to a Winnipeg morning radio show, these people should be from Winnipeg. And that's, I think, the mentality that the people had in the U.S. at the time, where it was like, don't talk about Canada. Why, we're a local state. Why would something in Oklahoma have a Canadian host? Why would we? Because it's music and it's entertainment. We're not about, there was nothing political on the show. It was just about, telling your listeners, hey, did you know that this is a Canadian? So, yeah. But that's kind of where we were going with that conversation when Howie was on, was that, it just, now these sort of walls have been broken down thanks to the internet, that you can be from anywhere and have any sort of a platform. But at the same time, that's also kind of something that I don't really care for, because as you know, everybody has a platform, everybody has an opinion, everybody's a broadcaster, everybody's, So anyway, that's my rant. Live at jbonair.com. One more break and we'll be back after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. My thanks to Howie Mandel. Again, remember, check your local listings. Watch Canada's Got Talent. And again, you can watch it from other countries, if I'm not mistaken. So check out CGT. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I will talk to you same time, same place next week. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some